sorry, you do the intro, right? Mm-hmm.
Oh, that would be cool. I also realized that I didn't hit the record button for our Dubai meeting a few hours ago until much later, until we got kind of deeper into it. But at least for this one, we're going to start right from the beginning. Hi, everybody. I'm Doug Brunke, founder and CEO of Global Chamber. It's hard to be a leader. It's hard to be a leader in epic times that are dynamically changing. And it's really hard to do all of that across borders, across cultures. I've heard people talk about 14 different cultures within the United States. I think it's way more because I could probably identify 14 just around the New York City area from different parts of New Jersey and upstate New York and Connecticut and, oh my God, Boston and kind of that whole area, and starting to get into all sorts of things. Being a Yankee fan, Red Sox fan, there's different personalities and different approaches. And what happens with all of us, right? We're not one culture. We have our background and our heritage. Our parents have unique personalities. They've given us unique things. We move around, we travel, we live in different places. And so who are we meeting in our next meeting, and how are we going to lead them? We have team meetings that are people from all over the world. I just jumped off a company called Venture Global. They're a new member of Global Chamber. They've got people all over the world. They have 100+ companies within the community, and they're all from different places. So, how do you deal with that as a person, as a professional, and as a leader? Fortunately, we have experts who know how to do that. And both Rutherford Pascal, who typically leads this meeting, he's here. So thank you for being here and thank you for your leadership. And we have Frank Beckman, and his kaleidoscope leadership not only is an idea, but it's now in our hearts and minds as we begin to read it as a new book that he's put together. His blood, sweat, and tears and knowledge and expertise that we can benefit from. So, Frank, thank you so much for your support and collaboration. Thank you for putting this book together. We can't wait to hear more. We can't wait to learn more. And this session, of which now we have about 50 more minutes, I think you're going to share some information. We'll have some Q&A, and we're going to be a lot smarter and better when it's done, I'm sure. Thank you for today already.
Doug, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to do this here. Also, thank you, Rutherford, for normally leading this really great circle. And I hope and I wish that we have some more people, because there are a lot of leaders and experts in the Global Chamber. And I hope we can get them on board in the next meeting as well to increase that circle, because it's an incredible expertise and competence which comes together here. And that makes the Global Chamber here very special. Coming to my book, that has also some roots in this leadership circle, because actually I was talking to Pauline Crawford. She also did with you, rather, for one of the Globinars, and we were talking about AI and what AI does. And I told her my view is that we need more to change perspectives. And I said, this is like the kaleidoscope we know from the childhood, right? We change it a bit and it breaks pattern and we get a new beautiful pattern. And she said, yeah, Frank, that's kaleidoscope leadership. And that fell very deep inside of me. And it was one week with me, and suddenly it came up, and somebody, an inner voice, said, well, let's write a book about that. So I started writing. And while writing, and I do it day by day, I really had a flow. And I realized that a lot of things in my life suddenly was flowing into the book. My whole life was flowing in the book. And I realized that this is something why people and companies and leaders appreciate my service, because that's one of my strengths: to change perspectives, to look from angles on a challenge or problem which nobody sees. And that inspires, that gives new ideas, that open up, that brings things into flow. So the whole book, as Doug said in much better words, is really not only sweat and tears. It's my whole life getting into that. Now, how did it all started? And in my prologue, I'm explaining that I was raised in a house in a family business where it was a publishing house, and therefore, no surprise, my grandfather and my father, they were reading books all the time. So whenever they had time, they read books. So at home, we had about, I don't know, 10,000, 15,000 books, never counted it. So I was surrounded by that one, meaning I ignored them. Because if you're young and you have everything around, you're not interested in that one. But at one point in time, when I was 14, 15, I got curious. So I went into to the bookshelf on my height at that time, and I saw a small black book, and I thought, a smaller one is better because I can read it faster. And it has a leather, it was by leather and has a golden snake on it. So that was cool for a young boy. So I took it, and that was Friedrich Nietzsche, Thus Spoke Zarathustra, which turned out to be very heavy stuff for a young kid, so I couldn't understand much. But what I read at the beginning was changing really the way I'm thinking, and it changed my life because Zarathustra was at the beginning in the mountains, and he came down to the village to spread his wisdom, to spread his experience, and but people ignored him. They didn't listen to him. So very disappointed, he went back onto his mountain abode, and then he said one sentence. He said, "These are not the right ears for my words." And I loved that sentence because normally I would think, I'm talking the right words, the wrong words to the people, yeah. So I have to change that. But no, he said, there's other wrong ears to my words. So that changed everything. It flipped my normal thinking. And whatever I did in the future, I always flipped things. I looked from other perspectives. So on that one, I built actually my career. Some people hated that because people sometimes like not to look outside of a box. Yeah. But I'm that way. And I saw really how successful it can be. Now, what does it has to do with AI? At the moment in AI, AI gives us very polished answers, and we are tempted to take that and just take it and use it, and don't review that, don't work with that one. That will become more when we have AI agents, when we have an orchestra of AI agents. They book meetings in our calendar, they talk to customers, they make decisions for us. Now, the thing is that all the AI has a very similar algorithm. It's just the data which makes them different, but the algorithms are the same. So if I ask as a company leader, my AI propose a great strategy, it will definitely a very good strategy because AI can compare with others and find a very good one. But the next company employs AI also have the best strategy. And the third one and the fourth one. What happens is after a while that companies become more similar, they converge. That means they will lose their uniqueness and competitive edge. Yeah. And that's very dangerous because it's so important that we stay unique. So that's why changing perspectives, looking from different angles brings us the difference, staying unique, staying on top of AI, and staying with a competitive edge. And a short break here because I like to have your feedback on that one because I haven't read about that one or seen, but I think that's a very important development we need to consider already now. What do you think?
So just on the different way of looking at it, I think you're spot on. And what was interesting is when you were talking, I know you were talking about AI. I just before this got a text from somebody who responded to I had a post on performance improvement plans, and this person, this is what he said to me. He said, I was talking about how to get out of how to take performance improvement plans and get out of it and grow from it. This is his comment was, bro, this performance improvement plans are just constructive termination documents, right? And that's the view he had, right? And if you think about that, and it's not, I have to respond, but it's the same thing you're thinking about with AI and perspective and how you look at this, right? So I completely agree with taking a look at it, changing your perspective. It's perfect.
Wonderful. Thanks very much, Rutherford. Any other comment, idea? Okay, otherwise I go ahead. I want to give you a comparison between Google, which we did before. We Googled our results, and now AI, which brings us a polished, consolidated result. Now imagine you go into a supermarket. You want to cook for your partner or your family. So you go into a supermarket, you look around, what produce are interesting, inspiring you, which is fresh. And then you start building the recipe, very unique in your head. You buy all these things, you go to the cashier, you pay, you cook. That's wonderful. And that's the way we did kind of with Google when we Googled something. Now with AI, it's different. You go into a supermarket and you only find ready-made dishes. They are cheap, they are fast, convenient, they may taste good, but it's already made. I mean, some people are already doing it, yeah. But as a leader, I think if you do it too often, you lose the ability to be creative, to create your own dish, yeah. And this is what happens at the moment. AI makes us really more narrow-minded, makes us dependent, and we only get ready-made dishes with that one. We lose our ability. And that is something which is very dangerous. And in my book, I also present some explanations on a neuroscientific way, because important is, for instance, the RAS, the reticular activating system. This is the filter system, the inbuilt filter system we all have. And it's important because imagine every day we get, I don't know, 100,000, 200,000, 500,000 signals which are outside in the environment. And if we would have to cope with that one, we would die. So we need a filter to tell us what is important and what is not important is kept outside. And this is the RAS filter who is doing that. So, for instance, if you're sitting in a noisy cafe and you're reading a book, that's RAS, which enables you to do that because it filters everything out which you don't want at this moment. On the other hand, this RAS filter needs some instructions. And if you, for instance, are looking at advertisement and assume that it catches you emotionally, the RAS decides that this is important. If it's repeated, so every repetition makes it even more deep. So by that, the RAS will filter out a lot of things by instructions which are not from you, but from outside, from advertisement, whatever. And that narrows us very much down. We have the ability, it's called neuroplasticity, to build new neural pathways by methods, tools, and trainings. And within 8 to 12 weeks, we can change that. So that's the good news. We can change that, and I think we should change that. In my book, I have a lot of methods and tools on different levels to help to work with that and to learn how to change perspectives and how really to change one's own view on that one, because we only know what we know. We don't know what we don't know. We all think we know a lot, but who knows that really, yeah? Unless we really change perspectives, unless we really go beyond, yeah? I'd like to give you some examples. For instance, one of my favorites is I call it 1 hour in the enemy's office. As a leader, imagine you are your fiercest competitor. So you put yourself in the shoes of that one into their office and then think, how can I outcompete myself, my company? What can I do? So suddenly you're not looking only at your strengths, you're trying to identify weaknesses. You're trying to identify points where you can be better, where you have better strategy, tactics, or whatever. So that changing that perspective makes your company and your leadership much stronger just by changing perspectives. Another one is, for instance, the courage not to answer. because very often we do not really listen. If you have a meeting, and I think everybody has experienced that, some people talk, and then some people already are preloaded with an answer before the others have finished. How can this be? In this way, they don't listen to the others, they don't only listen to themselves. And this is very dangerous because then this is your RAS. It keeps you in your preoccupations and you're not open to it. So if you let others finish and you go for 30 seconds or 1 minute in silence and only then start to have an answer, yeah, that brings quality because you start to listen to understand and you do not come with an automatic answer. You think more about what really should be answered to that one. So there are a lot of tools and methods which can be done in leadership teams, which I show also on a personal level, but also on the organizational level, which you can perform to learn really to change perspectives. Because I think it's important not only for one leader, should come top down from the C or from the C level and really should go through the whole organization because otherwise it will disappear or will not be that effective. So tools, methods to change that are very important, and you can practice that as I show that in my books. Another topic I have is coming from perspectives is diversity. The DEI programs, we all know, and there were billions of money invested. And why did we do that? Because we wanted to give people with different backgrounds the opportunity to have a job in our company. But when we did that, and after a while they had been in the company, they were pushed into the same perspective like everybody in that company because you have meetings and then you have to comply. You can't talk against it, especially if you're new into the company. So we're starting to making everything equal. But this is missing a huge opportunity because it should not be that you have in a room a percentage of these and that persons. It's more important to have a room with a percentage of different perspectives. So the opportunity with diversity programs to get people from different backgrounds into the company is normally missed if you don't see the opportunity to let them stay with their perspectives and enrich decision making. Yeah. Anybody of you who have some experience, how do you see that? Like to ask here in the round, Stephen.
No, not really. I mean, we're a small company, so um, I really haven't had that experience. And my previous was I was always working in international anyway. So um, the I know at different companies that was a topic, but fortunately, I never really had to experience it.
Okay, okay. Anybody else? Okay, otherwise, I continue. There is a very interesting sentence I came across, and it's also in my book. And I think I've mentioned that in an earlier Globinar here as well. Control does not arrive with soldiers, control arrives with convenience, with complacence. And this is what we see at the moment that AI makes us very complacent. It brings us into a comfort zone because it's very easy to use AI and to pass it on. We see even the large consulting firms like McKinsey, they are employing for the reports already AI. Yeah. But this is dangerous because the more we stay in our comfort zone, the less we rotate perspectives, we become less creative, we become more similar than others. Uniqueness will disappear. Yeah. So it's very important to be aware, to be conscious about what happens at the moment. And especially with AI coming up more and more, and with agentic AI, it's even more. Now is the time to be aware of what happens and to bring the right leadership into the company, and to train also the whole company to look from different perspectives and not get hooked only on the results of AI. So if AI brings us a result, not taking that as an ending point, as a final result, but taking that as a starting point, as an input now to work with that one, change perspectives, to bring our human touch into that, bring our empathy into that, bring our own experience, our intuition into that, all that what AI cannot do, and then make it really successful. But that means we often use AI for efficiency and to be faster. But very often, if we are faster, quality will be much lower. So that's why we use AI to be faster, but then we still have more time available to work with that and to bring in the quality. Stephen, you raised
Yeah,
your.
one point on that, and um, it's I think you still have to question when you're getting results from AI, ChatGPT, Claude, whatever. You have to at least try to validate it. I have the feeling, and I've heard this from many others, and I'm just curious to see your point. It's I'm skeptical, but on some of the answers, or at least say, okay, we have to validate it. I have the feeling that younger people who don't have the same experience, um, are more and more taking it face value without questioning. Um, is that your experience, or how does anybody else think about that?
I think it's absolutely right what you say, because especially the youth, they are trained now. If they don't like something, they swipe it away. So
Mm,
their span of attention becomes shorter and shorter. That means it becomes more difficult for them to stay with that one and to work with that for a longer time. They are now kind of, or their RAS is manipulated in that way that things need to be very fast and convenient, exactly as you say. Yeah.
mm,
And they are more, let's say, into the social media as we are, because we are more, due to our experience, more aware, more conscious what happens, but they are not. And that is really, and I absolutely agree with you, Stephen,
mm,
that's a real problem. Yeah. But that needs good leadership. Yeah.
mm,
Especially if you hire young people. It's so important to see how they are thinking. And if they bring in a different perspective, to help them to stay with their perspective and don't ask them to comply. And if you look for jobs, for instance, very often already in the description it says how you have to behave or what is expected from you. So already there you are narrowed down to comply with the general perspective of a company. Yeah. We
mm,
need really some more revolutionary way, really asking young people, well, it's great if you think differently, because very often they think differently, young generations, others than we do. Yeah. How can we benefit from that one? How can we learn from that one? Yeah. While the other is learning from us.
mm.
Martin.
Hey Frank, I think because you and I have spoken about this in numerous of different ways. I think that this is a very good point. I just wanted to kind of hear your thoughts about this because, as you know, I'm dealing with numerous of different channels. Um, how have you seen purposely, like when companies are finding leadership, for instance, like C-suite level, are they giving that same guardrail to kind of to sort of get you in a state of mind for the culture, or does that actually hinder innovation in order to get the company on a different path of success? Because the definition of success may not be the same as the current culture states. So I've always seen this to be more of a, the whole quantum chaos around this whole the kaleidoscope view. I just wanted to kind of throw that question at you: is does that often happens at mid-level to senior level, or does it impact C-level folks and then drops down all the way down to the hierarchy as a top-down approach in terms of an impact?
Wonderful question, Martin. Thank you for asking. Very important. So first of all, I think that innovation is killed by that more and more. And I know it from a lot of innovation managers which had been hired, which have difficulties because even if they find some innovation, creative or things which are different, they're not accepted in the company because the company is not prepared by that one. Not only by mid-level, but very often by C-level. So they bring it to a certain division, and the head of the division says, "Oh, I have my own goals, I have my own work. I'm not interested in that." Yeah. So I think this is something which really needs to trigger top down. It starts with the CEO. It starts on top level because the CEO has a role model, and she or he needs to start with that one. Then it's the full C-level team, and that it needs to trickle down through the whole organization. It needs to become part of the corporate culture to change perspectives, to be creative, to allow diverse views, different perspectives, and criticism also, as long as this is meant positive. Yeah.
I absolutely agree. I think this is definitely something that I think it's a generational shift, I suppose. What I've always seen is the C-level folks, or at least the companies, are looking to find that innovation edge, but they genuinely do not wish to move away from established processes because they only trust what they can feel rather than and measure, which hinders that. And it enhances bureaucracy, but it hinders that ability to be adaptive to the current market changes and customer profiles to which they're operating with. So absolutely agree with you 100% on that.
Yes, thanks very much. I'm coaching at the moment a CEO here, and he is 35, so he's not that very old, but he already is fixed on his typical views, on his stereotypes. He has his misconceptions, and therefore also he's struggling. He wants to be innovative. He thinks he's innovative, but he is not. Yeah. So and if he isn't that way, the whole organization will not be that way. So it really depends on his level and his opinion. Yeah. I saw a comment from Sharon. Sharon, would you like to speak up?
Yes. So I think I kind of related with, am I audible?
You're difficult to understand. There is some interruption between. Can you try again?
Yes, in my part of the world, the internet can be the way it is.
Okay. From where are
Please
you
let me know
calling?
if I'm audible.
Yeah.
From Cameroon. Sorry about this. I'll just keep typing because the weather is not good for talking. I don't know if you can hear me, but sorry about this.
Yes, we can hear you well now. Just go on.
You're better, Sharon. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I think I could relate with the integration of new generations into the work culture. I am a millennial, and then we have all this millennial wars, and then the Gen Z move. I mean, I have had a little bit of initially, hiring them. They work differently. Even in Africa, they work very differently. And it's almost like usually you have to bargain with them to do tasks and all that. But I did realize eventually that it was a matter of perception, how you perceive them, what value they are adding, because we are offering maybe the mentorship, the guidance as business leaders in our corporations. And then we also need the innovation. So I feel like true leadership, just like you were saying, is really to navigate how to integrate diversity, diverse people, diverse young people who have a lot of potential and are kind of up to date with things that maybe you are just sitting in your normal long meetings and figuring out things, strategy and all that. But they are up to date with tools. they are up to date with networks. So I think when we figured that out as an organization, we kind of kind of scaled quickly. And then because I mean they have all the knowledge of current tools. So what you were using maybe 5 years to figure out, they already know, they are already up to date with some of the things. Instead of using 5 years, they could use maybe 2 months or 3 months to get you what you want. So yeah, so I could relate to that, and I totally agree with that. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for sharing, Sharon. It was very interesting. And it also depends, of course, of the size of the company, right? The bigger the size and the longer it is on the market, having tradition or legacy makes it more difficult for change. Of course, for younger companies, it's much more easy, but I see it also with startups and scale-ups who are not really open to that. As soon as somebody starts to work and first success is coming in, they are already on that narrow path, I would say. Yeah. So it's really something, and that it's why I'm not calling it a book. For me, it's a mission, it's a movement, and I wanted you to be part of that movement, a wake-up call to mankind to seize the time, the opportunity now to really learn to change perspectives, look from different angles, stay creative, because that makes us always different and better than AI. Yeah, because there always will be a quarrel. I give you one example, innovation. You can build what I call in my book a crazy idea department, which is a department which is outside of your organizational structure, so they don't have the expectations from others to fulfill, and they can do what they want. They should come up with the weirdest ideas. But then you need a guardian, you need the C-level person to bring that idea into the company and to talk that openly and to see how could we benefit from that one, instead of saying, oh, it's new, I don't want to hear because then it's inconvenient, I have to do something. No, the other way around. So this crazy idea department as an incubation, as an outside incubation, is a very fruitful, interesting organizational vehicle to create innovation and then to bring it into the company. If you do it in your normal organization, which a lot of companies are doing that, it will very fast be killed. Yeah.
Interesting what you were saying. When we were at this meeting last week for the GITEX, and I
Right.
had the opportunity, there were a number of federal organizations that were sponsoring startup incubator companies and these type of things. And one common thing that I heard among different organizations where they said, well, they have a lot of interesting companies, interesting startups. And I asked a direct question. I said, how many of them actually survive? And they were like, this, like this amount. And I I said, is it because they don't have a plan? And they're like, yes. They go in, they come up with a cool idea, but don't actually take it further and say, it's a cool idea, but is it something that people actually want?
Mm-hmm.
And with finding out, well, after burning through, thousands of euros or whatever, uh, the idea was interesting, but they didn't actually have an idea what could you do with this cool idea. And I think that this is something where having a mix, like you're saying, a mix of the guardrail saying, go off, have your cool idea, but come back to reality. How can we translate this cool idea into something useful at the end of the day?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's the
Hey,
execution also important. Yeah.
Frank,
Yeah.
I have somebody next to me. I want to talk. And Doug knows this gentleman. Hank Marshall is here. Wants to comment on innovation.
Hey,
Hi. Nice meeting you.
hey, it's me and Rutherford. We're on a first date.
Where are you guys? What building is that?
We're at Schmooze in Scottsdale. You ever been there?
You know, I saw that note about schmooze, and I thought, I almost said, no, you mean snooze, right? So it's actually schmooze.
There is a snooze. Schmooze is, believe it or not, it's on Marshall Way. So
Hey, they named it after you, right?
so we've been having an offline debate on a lot of what you guys are talking about, and and Doug knows I spent a lot of time at Pfizer, and innovation was very fundamental to what we did, and we didn't approach it as task based. It was embedded in everything that we did. But we used stage gates. We tried to avoid having a solution looking for a problem, which I think kind of resonated with what I heard there. It's a great idea, but what box do you put it in, and what future might it have? I think it's a fabulous conversation, and Rutherford and I have been having a very animated discussion. So I want to let him jump in because we're kind of, having a great chat here, and I don't want to, hog the screen.
So no, what you guys talked about innovation is really important. So one of the things, the biggest thing I think about that people get wrong with innovation for me is they think it's huge. They think they have to innovate in a big way. They don't consider these tiny, small things that they innovate, because a lot of innovation is around the edges, right? And those small innovative things have changed things on a dramatic scale. So it's for me, it's a mind shift. It's from a leadership perspective, we want to make sure that people understand that they innovation is not this huge different thing that they have to do. It's got to be completely different. You can just be improving by 1, 2, 3%, and that innovation is huge. Now I'll give you an example. Just came to my mind. Like the windshield wipers. So like how windshield wipers used to be one speed. Now that innovation of going just have adjustable speed, that's a small thing, but it became huge, made the guy a billionaire by a millionaire. But it's a small little thing that they changed that wasn't dramatic, right? So it's I want people to think about that in the leadership, because as leaders, we have to tell people that, or we're not going to get the innovation we want overall.
Interesting.
Ask your questions. Sorry, Stephen, in a minute. Just Rutherford, what is the prerequisite in a company with the leadership to enable such kind of incremental, steady innovation?
So what's the culture? So the leader has to they have to do two things. They have to celebrate the success, right? They have to also celebrate the failures. When I say celebrate the failures, that's not what I don't mean like have a party for somebody failing. I mean you don't punish failure, because some of the hardest things, the most important things, they failed because they missed one step. Their thesis was correct. They might have missed a couple of points and steps to get there, and somebody else might see that and understand. Oh, the only reason this failed was you missed this step. You missed this issue. So it's the leader giving space to not completely have a total success where the company's making money. Because if in fact the leader does that, there's going to be more innovation. People are going to say it's okay to dream big, to hit big, because I might fail, and the company's going to allow for that.
Interesting point on that. I'm actually global key account manager for a very highly successful U.S. headquartered company. That the whole company is geared towards innovation, and what the one philosophy that they have, and it's a very decentralized company, is the philosophy of customer-backed innovation. So they're constantly looking for new ideas, constantly speaking with their salespeople. What does the market say? When they collect the ideas, look into them, but before they don't go with a product to the market and then start looking for customers. They find out, what does the market want? Can we actually do that? And if we can do that, is our clients or potential customers willing to pay for it? But They've been highly successful, and even during the height of COVID, they made a plus of 15% because they are innovative, but they bring to the market things that customers want, and they listen though to their people. So it's a combination, I think, of you being innovative, being creative, but at the end of the day, come back to reality. Is this something that people are willing to pay for?
Excellent, Stephen. That's a great example. I think the best innovation is coming from the customer, actually.
Mm,
We need a sense and response circle, a very fast one. So, asking also the customers about what they are doing, what they want, we're expecting, and then feeding that back into the organization. And if you have that cycle, I think that's the best innovation you can do because,
mm.
as you say, it's straight ahead for the customer, and that's what brings you success.
Hey
Yeah.
Frank, it's Hank again. Can I just play off of that because that was music to my ears. I'm going to go back to the mid '70s, late '70s. I was involved with a program called EPT, Early Pregnancy Test Kit. The notion was that women wanted the opportunity to be able to detect a pregnancy in the privacy of their home,
Mm,
not to have to go to a doctor to get that assessment made. And what we found was that not every pregnancy is good news. Okay, so going to the doctor was very traumatic. So early on, it was a chemistry problem. How do you get it where there's no false positives? How do you make it where there's not 18 test tubes and some gargantuan, table needed to do the test? But when you think of this as being rather disruptive innovation and customer driven, the battle that was fought with the corporation to try and understand that there was a market for this took years. It was a good thing because we needed it for the chemistry. But back then, we couldn't get the customers to back it because they didn't want to stick their head above ground. You know,
mm,
it was a really interesting phenomenon. I think we had all the backing we needed, but we never get anybody to say, "Yep, I've got a voice in this." And it went on to be a very successful product, both as a brand name as well as third party and privately labeled. But it just struck me that you're absolutely right. If we'd had been able to label it the way you did, customer backed innovation, and
mm.
say that's the driver. If we can get it right, it'll succeed. But I'm telling you, it was 3 to 4 years of my life that it went absolutely out of my mind. Uh, it almost never saw the light of day. And that's a travesty of when the system and the whole framework isn't set up right. But
So
great conversation.
you said you were working with Pfizer, correct?
Yep.
So right down the road from where I live is BioNTech.
Okay.
And so, in Germany, it's during COVID, they would say it was the BioNTech vaccine. The
Yep.
Americans were saying the Pfizer, but it was this
Yep.
little innovation company.
Yep.
So they just let go 1,500 people because they they had this thing, they struck it lucky, but there was no system behind it.
Yep.
So they never went, okay, what else does the market want? What else can we do? And as a result, they just basically had to let all these people go now that COVID's over, more or less, because it was an accident, but not systematic. And what I was talking about earlier about this, let's proactively look for innovation. I looked for this company in different areas. Innovation matters. So their only job is to look for new ideas and evaluate them.
Yep.
And when you have like luck of the draw, this guy got lucky, made a bunch of money, and more or less sort of left their company, and then now is starting another one. Just going back to being a professor and doing this with no plan, you could
Yep.
say.
Well, I mean, this is like the highlight of my day because another one that we dealt with, and you guys will love this one, was I was involved in the launch of Lubriderm, which is an emollient skin lotion.
Mm,
But the fundamental premise of it was that there were enough people in the world that had sensitivities to even mild levels of fragrance. That fragrance was a very problematic element of skin conditioning products. So we developed a non-fragrance or a fragrance-free product that was so counterintuitive to the world, even though we knew there was a market and there was a need, both for kids and women and seniors. It took forever as well. I mean, I could give you example after example after example of where good things almost never happened because people were like, and you're going to put it, a white cream in a white bottle, which makes it look sterile, which makes it look clinical, which is a predecessor to Clinique. Why did Clinique do well? Same thing, white, clean, very aesthetically pleasing. And I could wax on this, but Lubriderm was another one that, without fragrance, are you kidding me? We can't do that. So but then I think you have to have the backbone like we did to defend it. It was relentless defending of what we believe was a good idea, and just not backing down. Even if it meant that some people lost their jobs, some people got castigated for it, but the engineer in me, like the one in Doug, sometimes you get a bone and you won't let go. Doug's famous for that. He grabs bones all the time. So.
But I like it. Say it's a great flip. You're saying fragrant and then you say non-fragrant. Yeah. Just sometimes turn it around and see what it makes. Yeah. Of course, you need to ask the customers, but the flip is the easiest thing you can do. Yeah. Just look from the other side. Just turn it around.
That's
and it
true.
opens you. Yeah. Okay, guys, we have some 10 minutes more. Just share a short positive engagement with AI. Two things. One of my tools I mentioned is an AI agent you can use in the board meetings. I learned that when I was in Abu Dhabi because there's one of the largest investors, especially in health tech and AI, is G42. And the CEO said already 2 years ago, since we employ an AI agent in board meetings, the quality of our board meetings raised dramatically. So what does it mean? If you have an AI agent who is trained for that, he gets the information of your company, he gets all the agenda and information for the board meeting. So you have the board meeting and you can either have the AI agent being active, letting him asking questions when he doesn't not understand something, or having him passive, meaning you discuss something, and then you ask the AI agent, what do you think? Are we on the right track? Do we have to consider something else? Do we have to look from another angle? So in this way, and as the AI agent has all the information on his backhand, he can bring in other views, other information, which you can then use to change your perspectives, to review, to reshuffle or whatever. So that's also an interesting tool here, how we can use AI really to change perspectives and to enrich discussions and decision making. Yeah. And a very personal experience for me was writing that book because I'm not a native speaker, as you all hear. I'm already upset because my English is not good, but I wanted to write the book in English. So what should I do? So I asked Claude, can you help me? He said, yeah, of course. But I said, I don't want to have this typical AI style. Yeah? I want to have my personal style in that one. And then Claude asked me, saying, okay, give me some examples, some writings, text, emails. So I feel it with a lot of things and Claude analyzed and always gave me feedback. And at one point in time, Claude said, okay, I think I've got it. Yeah. And I said, okay, let's do a test. Yeah. And I was not happy with that. So we did it again and again until I said, well, that's wonderful. That's the way I would like to have the book now worded. That's the style I like to have in the book. That should be very unique. That should be me. And it was very convenient because I didn't need to think about how to put it in the right words. Yeah, I just focused on the content and through that to thought, and then it got polished, even though I had to go word by word, sentence by sentence through everything, because there had been quite a lot of mistakes. Yeah, there were references to a former chapter which was not right because there was nothing written about that or whatever. So I had to check everything, but it was very helpful for me. Yeah, so I used AI, but not, let's say, for content and quality, but just here for language. And it was really amazing. It helped me, especially to stay in my flow. Yeah, because I didn't need to think about that. So these are two examples where I can really be helpful and really has a positive impact as long as we are behind and review that and make the best out of this. Yeah. Okay, we have some more minutes for Q&A and discussions. Rutherford.
Can I piggyback on that? So one of the things that I did a lot in my early career was this concept that it's called counterintuitive thinking, right? So theoretically, if everybody's thinking, right, this is the answer, my mind went, okay, what if we went left? If everyone's going right, what could happen if we do this? Just counterintuitive, like thinking, right? So I actually employed that in AI. Like, so I was, I have a startup that I'm working on, and I've been, dealing, lots of questions last week. And I asked it last week, is there something that I haven't thought about that I should be going at? And I was stunned. I was like, oh my, it just completely blew my mind. And then I did research. I actually went out and see if it was correct, and it was. And it just completely opened my mind because I just wasn't thinking that way, right? So it's sometimes the negative of what we're thinking, asking it different. Because prompt engineering was the biggest thing in the world like a year and a half ago. Everyone prompt engineering, and then now nobody talks about prompt engineering anymore. I still think it's important. So that's what I'll give you. Simple, and it was Claude, by the way, but it was fantastic.
Oh, great. On the spot, on the spot. I mean, also very often we have a feeling, but we disregard our feelings because we are trained to be rational, and emotions have no say in that. But listening to your emotions as well, to your intuition, give it room to unfold and to understand what the emotions are saying, what they are telling us. It's also so important. It increases our awareness, and then we stay more true to ourselves. Yeah. And we still can rationalize it, yeah. But I think it's so important. We very often just push it away. Oh, it's just a feeling, yeah. I can't substantiate that or whatever, or I can't justify it towards my leader or whatever. So I don't express it, yeah. But we have to. It's so important. It's all part of, let's say, a kaleidoscope, yeah. Because also emotions, intuition, everything has a place there. Yeah. Wonderful, wonderful. I put the link to Amazon if somebody wants to read it, I hope. And please give a review, and please especially recommend it to others because I really want to make this a movement. And once you have read it, I think you're already part of that movement. You will understand that. And I also put my homepage. I still have to refine it, but you can also find it on my homepage. Yeah.
Can't wait to read it, Frank. Thank you for sharing. I'm left with when you talk about how AI makes it easier, and you kind of came at it from different ways. I mean, it makes it easier if you're as smart as you. It makes it easier if you're as experienced as you. It's a better and facilitator when you have the experience that you do and the mindfulness that you do. So thank you for putting that in the book, that experience and knowledge and thoughtfulness. That's going to be very valuable for all of us. Generally, people aren't have all of that, right? Generally. And so how do you address that? Considering that, because you've got to elevate people to, they can't automatically have your experience or your mindfulness, right? They're not going to get it necessarily from AI. So in the final comments, could you let us know what is the path to universal mindfulness and leadership that you envision? And then, we look forward to reading the book and talking about it the next time.
I mean, thanks very much for it. A really amazing question. I could talk an hour about that, but I only have a few minutes. I think it's basically a very human thing. On the one hand, we all tend to become complacent. We love our comfort zone. That's human. That's normal. And unfortunately, all the tech bros have discovered that. and they're seizing that to their advantage and bringing us more and more into our comfort zone by social media, by emotionalizing things. And so it becomes more and more difficult for us to stay in a certain distance, to stay within awareness, to develop our awareness, our consciousness. And therefore, I think we need mechanisms, we need tools, we need rituals to do that. Yeah, but also rituals become after a certain time on auto mode if we do it too often. So really staying aware, staying conscious is really a big challenge. And everybody needs to find the right ways, the right tools, the right mechanisms, the right people around to exchange. I think it's also important to have people who dare to speak in a different. I have a friend, and we are in political discussions. We are on the different side of a spectrum. And I hardly find people where I can discuss it, but we still stay friends, right? Especially as you have, for instance, in the US, the Republicans and Democrats, for instance. So it's very much polarized. But understanding and leaving space for different opinions and listening to that one. I think this is so important, and that's the most important thing, especially listening. Because really letting somebody finish and then best stop a minute and then first repeating what you have understood from the other and then starting to answer or to give a feedback on that one. But that takes time.
Love
That
it.
makes processes slower, and people don't like that. But quality always needs time. Everything which goes faster provides less quality. Yeah, and that's the decision what we have to make, what we want in our life. Do we want to have it convenient, fast, speedy? No problem. Auto mode, it works. Or if we want to stay on top of that one, if we still want to feel the magic of things, if we want to feel passion about that, working with our consciousness and staying outside of that one. That's our decision we have to make, and it's everybody's decision. I accept that, but I hope we stay more on the conscious, on the awareness side, which makes us different from AI, robots, or everything which is there to come.
Thank you for leading today. I know I'm going to train Claude to ask the question, what would Frank Beckman do? And let's see what Claude says.
Share that with me. Share that with me, the answer, Doc.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.
Doug,
Thank you, Doug. Thank you, Frank. Thank you.
Doug,
Bye-bye.
could you stay on, please, just 1 second? Doug, could you stay on 1 second?
I have to run into another meeting. Sorry.
Okay.
But let's catch up. I know you're on my radar.
Okay. All right. Frank, I'll give you a call on WhatsApp then.
Yeah, let's take it private. Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Thank you very much, guys.
Bye-bye.
It was a pleasure. All the best to you. Have a great day.
All the best. Thank you.